away from the crowd.
Welcome back to the World Championship Series, everybody. We're here in Group B, getting closer and closer to finding the second player that will go through to the weekend to play in the playoffs. Joining me here is, of course, In Control and Rotterdam. Been having a lot of fun here today. It's been an exciting day in Katowice.
Some more than others.
I'm not perfect anymore, though.
Oh, you chose Kung Fu Panda in your predictions in the last one?
Yeah.
So did you, so you're going down in flames.
Oh, you did choose Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But you are not doing so well, my dear friend.
You know, in the famous words of the Seattle Seahawks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, Sean. You know, today's been rough for some of us, but who knows? It's a long week, and there's like more games to go.
We have 4 more days. We'll find out how well you can do. Let's check in with the bracket. As we can see, the result that Jeff unfortunately got wrong is he predicted Kung Fu Panda to win that match, but it was Petraeus who goes through to the winners match and fights for a chance to go to the main event this coming weekend on Saturday and Sunday when we travel to Krakow, as I try my best to pronounce it in my best Polish accent.
What a story, by the way. If Petraeus gave up his career in video games, went back to school
to win a WCS
and achieved his greatest results yet. Think of the message to the parents around the world. It's like, quit your video games, kinda. Kinda. And you could win just like this guy did, too.
He's very close to it. He's playing absolutely fantastic today, but we've got 2 players that are coming to the stage now, and it's going to be Snute versus Sen. First up, let's look more at Sen.
My name is Yang Jiazhen. I'm 28, and I live in Taiwan, Taipei, and I play Zerg. I don't have really target. I think I just do my best and enjoy this tournament. Sometimes you lose because you made a lot big mistake. I think it will be so disappointing. Maybe sometimes you practice a lot and you didn't show your skill. I've never been to Poland before. I think the country with white guys, I don't know. I'm really excited to go there because I never went there before.
An absolute legend, a veteran of the esports scene, Roddy.
No, absolutely. He's been around for so long, and a lot of very good and strong performances. In the early years of StarCraft II, he was one of the absolute best, if not the best foreigner for a while, which means non-Korean, I guess. But, you know, that's not really the case anymore. I would even say in 2015, he's had a couple of very disappointing performances, even for himself as well, because we all know what a great player Sen could be. But Season 1 and Season 2, that's not the Sen that we know.
Yeah, I mean, Roddy, you mentioned it in the Round of 32 shows when you were in Burbank, is that Sen comes in, sometimes looking great, sometimes a complete flop, and he doesn't really have this middle ground, Jeff. You've known him for a super long time coming from Brood War yourself.
Yeah, we were on Templars of Twilight together. He was an if he's a legend today, he was more than that back then. But to your point, yeah, it's definitely kind of the signs of a guy who maybe he's diversifying his time a little bit. I know he won a Hearthstone tournament while attending a StarCraft tournament, so there is a little bit of multi-talent going on there. But to be honest, going back to Burbank where Kevin and I casted this guy and watched him, it wasn't that impressive, yet he still advanced. And I think that's something that's really important to talk about. You can even go back to Elfie's interview where he's like, I don't care, I'm just going to win. Sen did it. He did it with some cheesy stuff too. Now, can he do it here in a tougher matchup?
He's noticing some weaknesses of becoming an older player playing StarCraft, such a fast-paced game. He's been saying this.
28 is not that old. All right?
That's right. You're 30 on Friday, mate.
I'm still in my late 20s, buddy.
Not for much longer, Jeff. Let's take
Friday.
a closer look at Snute, his opponent.
I wanted to be a game designer, and then I wanted to be a musician, but neither of those plans really worked, so now I'm just doing my Plan C type of thing, just playing some games. I really enjoy winning games that are quite long, where a lot of things happen. When I came into this season compared to the last one, I just wanted to not repeat the mistakes of the last season. You know, there's always pressure with WCS because it's so important. Like, the pressure is massive for all the players, even the best ones. There's pressure to perform. I want to win, of course. I want to make it as far as possible, and I definitely want to break my own record and make it past the round of 8 this time.
A completely honest and truthful interview and set of answers there that we got from Snute as he gives us a good smile, but there is a lot of pressure on him today. People are expecting big things. It feels like throughout the year him and Bunny have been passing the baton of the best player, and it's back to him again.
Yeah, and now suddenly there are a bunch of people who are knocking on the door as well, being like, hey, you two little Liquid brothers, like, I want to be part of this best non-Korean crew as well. But just to look at the overall year, if you would have told me in the start of the year that starting at Season 3, Snute's best performance in this WCS, you know, the new WCS, would be a round of 8 performance, I would have said, nah, he's gonna do better than that. At least in one of the 2 seasons, he's gonna make a semi-final, if not a final, because on paper, I don't really see a whole lot of players that I consider better than Snute. So the fact that we are in Season 3 right now and that his best run was a quarter-final, that's very surprising to me.
Yeah, it's nuts to think about, and he should be getting higher results. The pressure does get to him.
It has, and it shows right there on that screen. I think the most glaring number for me is WCS rank number 31. Ladies and gentlemen, top 16 are going to BlizzCon, and 31 is very far away from there. And for Snute, that is a big deal, because this is the guy who, if we held a Mortal Kombat Tournament of Champions and they were like, from the non-Korean realm, this is one of the guys that we'd probably send forth. And at number 31, we would be under Shao Kahn's ironclad fist, and we would be dead.
He was 17th last season, Jeff. 17th. The bubble.
And he's definitely not the type of guy that has been slacking ever since last year. You know, it's not like, oh, I got ranked 17, well, bummer, let's take a holiday of 5 months. No, he has been grinding, he's been practicing, he's been putting in the hours. So, and it's mostly because of the WCS Season 2, though. It's all because he bombed out back then in the round of 32, which was just a huge surprise to all of us. Like, he was close to beating Hydra in his opening match, if I recall correctly. And then he suddenly lost that second best of 3, which was very surprising. And that destroyed everything. And I wouldn't go as far to say that destroyed the BlizzCon dream, but that truly made it a dream.
Yeah, it definitely shot it down there in Season 2. Not the best of results there. But coming into this, let's take a look at the maps then. We have the 3 maps for this Zerg versus Zerg. And one word that just kind of stands out when looking at this group, looking at Snute, has to be complacency. You can't look at this group, feel happy about it, but not advance from it and let slip-ups, let mistakes happen. And here are the maps: Coda, Dash and Terminal, and Cactus Valley.
Coda, we can almost skip. This is going to be in all the 3 maps. All the pro gamers are just generally like, this is one of the, if not the best map in this pool. Dash and Terminal kind of leaps out as strange, but it is ZvZ, so it's a lot of times like, oh, you took the gold base, well, how am I going to adjust to that? Either did I plan for that at an earlier pool? We're going to see that kind of be a linchpin moment. Snute's a little bit more of a safer player, so I'm looking to Sen again to mix things up with the cheese stuff.
On the first map, Coda, we've talked about this time after time after time. It's such a played out map, and it's so well scripted. You mostly see regular played out games here, and that's what we should be expecting from them. Or can that change because it's Zerg versus Zerg, Roddy?
I think it will change mostly because it's Sen. I think what we are going to see over here, you know, normally I feel it's kind of hard to make predictions in ZvZ, but I think this is relatively easy to predict what we're going to see. We're going to see a very solid, very safe Snute who's going to try to stabilize on 3 bases, put himself up in a defensive position, and Sen is going to be aggressive. Whether it's on 1, 2, or 3 bases, he's going to try to break Snute, but with the amount of experience that Snute has in ZvZ, he's so solid, so confident in his own defensive playstyle that I don't think Snute is going to be in a whole lot of trouble on Coda.
Asgard is going to defend the wall today. Just for everyone at home, I mean, we've been running the predictions game so far. The wall, the defensive wall.
Did Asgard defend?
The Asgard defense.
We'll see some movies, Sean. Sorry.
No, not good enough for you, Jeff.
Asgard doesn't okay, maybe there's some walls involved.
Sorry. Predictions, though. We will not bring the graphic up, but I just want you to know, because this is funny, 8 out of 8 picked Snute. I wanted to slime that one in there. Snute. Everyone's expecting Snute here. I wonder if you guys are at home as well. It's time to head to the commentary team for this one to find out if 8 can be right or 8 are going to be wrong.
That's right, Sean, as we have, of course, here, Snute looking to keep his BlizzCon shot alive here throughout the World Championship Series. And then, of course, you have Sen, who, at the moment, this is technically his best WCS result in 2 years. So that's quite the achievement itself. But when you think about Sen, you always think about more, because it's Sen.
He's been around since forever, and he's had so many achievements throughout his career. I mean, back in the day, this guy made it to the top 6 of BlizzCon 3 times in a row. And he wants to climb back to that level. And this is the first time he's been here in the round of 16 in, like you said, 2 years. So this is a big opportunity for him.
Let's get into it. In game number 1 here on Coda, spawning up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg representing Hong Kong. Hong Kong attitude. There you go. It is Sen. Almost destroyed that one.
Oh, it's all right. He's got that Hong Kong attitude. He's bringing it today.
Yes, he is. And then spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, we all know who he represents. Representing Team Liquid, it is Snute. Oh, he's bringing the attitude, apparently.
Oh, all right. Nice. Seeing that nice early 10 pull out of Snute right away. That's a very aggressive play. Now, this isn't a 9 pull, so there's a good chance we're going to see a gas go down, and we do. So this looks like your classic old 10 pull Baneling build out of Snute. This is basically as all in as you can go. It's saying, I'm going to come out of the gates here, and I think you're going to be greedy, and I'm going to just destroy you. But this is super all in. This is very risky.
And this drone is heading out to what looks like starting a hatch first, which is not exactly the most amazing position to start defending against something this aggressive. Now, how many drones does he have in between this? This is very important here to see what he's going to be doing.
And this is exactly what Snute's hoping for, that hatch first build. This is the one build, really, which his one works against. But, oh, looks like only the 15th drone going down for the moment. Sen going to be going for a 15 spawning pool. So this is technically defendable, but he is going to need the sickest micro. We are going to see a crazy Ling Bane fighting drones and Zerglings popping out for Sen. Sen is going to need to have some really frantic defense to hang on against this.
Indeed. A few Modelings going to be following this up here for Snute as he does now head across the map. Snute has been, you know, doing pretty well in terms of Zerg versus Zerg at the moment. Sen is able to spot these Zerglings pretty early. Sen on the other side has only really had to face not too many Zergs himself in 2015, only really going up against the Taiwanese players. And actually a cancellation of the gas on the other side here for Sen, just to make sure he can get out a few more units.
Oh, you know, he's spotted it now. He knows this is coming, and all he has to think about now is, as soon as that spawning pool finishes, getting down queens, maybe getting a spine down, and he has to split like crazy. Snute here, morphing the Banelings already.
Oh.
Every one of those Banelings is what Snute's investing in. He's only got a few of them, but they have to do big damage.
Yeah, he started instantly as well, so he didn't go in and try and poke on drones. So these Banelings are going to be done very, very quickly, and he knows the window that he has here to be able to do damage with this. Drones are going to have to separate themselves up here, but already clumping up. That's a big hit already with 2. 6 drones go down already.
Oh, that's a huge hit for Snute. Oh, and getting another big hit on those Zerglings.
Perfect timing to get there with that Baneling to actually kill off those Zerglings as they pop out. And that's left him so vulnerable. He's got 8 more Zerglings on the way, but if another Baneling even walked there, he's just going to go straight for the drones.
Oh, look at this. Really nice micro from Sendo, splitting those drones and Zerglings away. Oh, Snute just needs to kill a few more drones, and he's got this in the bag.
Yeah, trying to do what he can. Queen's popped out in the main base here. The Baneling's moving down towards the bottom. Doesn't even need to detonate those on the few Zerglings that he does have available to him. And there's 10 drones already gone down. 6 against 9 workers at the moment.
Oh, this is so well played out of Snute. But it looks like Sen is defending for the moment, but his economy's been crippled. So he's rebuilding a few drones, but that means no more queens, no spine. It's all about this one queen and a couple of slow Zerglings, and it looks like Snute is not stopping. He's just still building Zerglings. Like, this next wave is going to be very powerful.
I mean, for this position, surely you've got to rely on your queen so heavily here, but it's going to take AoE damage as well from the Baneling. There you go, GG, with that queen going down, and with that economical position he was in, he just had no way to be able to reinforce, but Snute looking a little bit
bit uncomfortable there, yeah. Looking like maybe experiencing a bit of pain in the shoulder or the lower back, perhaps. Something that can happen with a lot of gaming, and maybe feeling a little bit tense on the journey over here. But And that's just such a decisive build order there from Snute. We've all been talked. He's the guy. He's going to turtle up. He's going to defend. He's going to hold on. But he just came out of the gate swinging.
Yeah, you can't be complacent about your build order on the other side of things, knowing that Snute can bring this to the table. We've seen him a few times in Zerg vs. Zerg mix things up a little bit, have these more aggressive tendencies and styles, and that was a resounding victory there for him.
Clean, clear, precise, and that's exactly such a great way to start off a ZvZ series. Keep your opponents guessing, keep them on their toes.
Yeah, well, as quickly as it began, as quickly as it finishes. We're going to go to a short break, and when we are back, it will be game number 2 here between Snute and Sen. Welcome back to the World Championship Series here for game number 2 between Sen and, of course, Snute. Taking that first game very, very quickly, very decisively, and even just splitting off the Banelings in the way he did, knowing when those Zerglings were going to pop out. That first Baneling hitting those, I think, was just a masterful stroke there by Snute.
Yeah, it really was, and Sen with the small slip up at the early point, getting 6 drones hit by the early Banelings. You can't let more than 3 or 4 at most get hit, so very precise play by Snute. Put the pressure on, forced those mistakes out early, and just took that masterful, quick win.
Well, it's time now for game number 2 here. Snute looks to put himself in a strong position in the round of 16, keeping a lot of non-Korean hopes alive there out in the World Championship Series. As we do have spawning up to the north, it is our blue Zerg representing Hong Kong attitude. It is Sen. And then down to the bottom, we have our red Zerg. Currently 1 up in this best of 3, representing Team Liquid. It is Snute.
Going in here on Dash and Terminal, we've got to remember this was Snute's pick, and I think it makes a lot of sense going into what was being said earlier about how normally Snute likes to play a very defensive style, and on this map, he's going to get that Overlord Scout very early on, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out of Zerg versus Zerg. If you can both see what your opponents are doing, you really have to kind of extend the game to a bit of a later stage, and those early game sort of gambles start to get thrown out of the equation. I think, I mean, that makes his pick of this map and then choosing to cheese in game 1 on the other map, it kind of really plays against his image when you put all that in combination. I think it was a really smart move.
Yeah, that's a really good point here, as all those Overlords will be able to spot what's going on, and as you can see, quite the contrast from game number 1. Not exactly a huge contrast, but at least it's not a super early pull, it's just a normally timed pull.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Snute playing very safe with this. Of course, Sen actually hid his second Overlord rather than sending it straight out front. So while Sen could see the second Overlord crossing his and saying, oh, you're not going for any aggression, I can just put my hatchery down. You know, Sen was like, I'm going to hide my own one, and we see Snute's decided to play very safe with that pool first build. Of course, both players are going to come in now. Snute's going to realize, oh, your spawning pool's going down just now. You have gone for that slightly more economic play, but if there's one player I know who doesn't care about being maybe a drone behind, it's Snute, because he is just so good at finding those economic edges a little bit later on.
Yep, he'll do well for himself, that's for sure. And also in Zerg vs. Zerg, you know, there's this weird dynamic where, okay, you've got a queen coming out from that pool a little bit earlier, so you get that lava inject a little bit earlier, which it starts to slowly normalize out in ZvZ. It's a strange little weird dynamic.
Absolutely, and you can push back their scout a lot earlier. Interestingly enough, we do see Gas already mining for Sen, while Snute's put his down a little bit later on here. So Sen is going to have that Gas lead, and Gas is really what it's all about in the early game of Zerg vs Zerg. You've got that Zergling speed faster, which gives you the mobility. Up until that point, you can't really attack because there's always overlords watching between your bases. If you can't get across the map very quickly with an attack, players will always have time to respond and be ready. So Sen's going to have a lot more freedom in the early stages of this game. He can choose to go all in, do a little bit of pressure. No matter what though, it's going to limit Snute's options and it's going to allow Sen to really diversify his play. If there's one thing I know about Sen as well, is he likes to cut corners. And with this freedom, we might very well see him rush up a lair, rush out some Mutalisks, something like that.
Yeah, do something a bit more wild here in this game. Snute, though, well-versed in Zerg vs Zerg, one of the very best here in Europe at the moment in regards to it. And putting all of his hopes and things into the basket of trying to propel himself forwards here in WCS. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we haven't seen Snute do amazingly in WCS when it comes to what you expect of his name. Yeah, Season 1, getting himself a top 8, but last season was a big disappointment for him. He went out in the round of 32. This is where, in Season 3, Snute goes, okay, I've had enough of like being a slight disappointment in that regard. I am going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with you and go all the distance in this season.
Absolutely, and he would love to secure that spot in the round of 8 today. If he can go through this match and then go through the winners match, that's what he wants. And I think the one thing I always think about when I think of Snute in this season's WCS is his reaction when he 4-0'd his group in the round of 32, and there wasn't even the hint of a smile. He looked so unimpressed, like this is the least I expected myself. For him, the tournament doesn't really begin until he is through this round of 16. He wants that round of 8 so badly, he wants that round of 4.
Definitely, and now we just have a few extra queens coming out here for Snute. Is he... We've seen this style from him before, right?
Yeah, he loves to get those extra queens up for that safety. They have such a diverse skill set. They can fight roaches, they can fight mutas, but oh, a very nice run by from Sen. Yeah,
the queen abandoned its post towards up the top in there to try and kind of aid towards the natural, and will grab himself another drone. Good control there by Sen. Gonna have to dart on out of there, at least with speed. Well, okay, runs into a baitling. Never mind.
This is such a great move from Sen. He sees there's absolutely nothing for him to worry about, and meanwhile he has rushed up his lair. Oh, pause coming in from Sen. Alright, so just in case the players need any tech difficulties, we will avoid talking about any specifics of the game in case the headphones have to come off. But, you know, this is a very important match, of course, game 1 here, and everyone does want that spot in the round of 8 on the stage. Everyone wants to go there, and what an event we actually do have planned. I'm really excited myself for all the legacy hype coming our way.
Yeah, the fact that the actual cinematic is going to be announced, that's one of the best things ever. Have you watched like the behind the scenes moments where they're like, yeah, okay, we took about 2 years to create this like 30-second clip. It's so insane how much detail actually goes into those videos. It's
it's beautiful, and I think it's always been one of the companies. I remember even when I was really young, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, original StarCraft. You know, I remember with my brother at the time, we'd always sit there and like watch the videos, and you'd be so excited when you get to a new video in the campaign. You'd yell across the house, and you'd be like, "Oh, cool! You know, we've got to check this out."
even Warcraft 2 with the Dark Portal cinematic.
Oh,
it's like,
that was
back
epic.
Then. If you think about it now, the graphics are just kind of rubbish. But back then, it was like, this is mind blowing. I can't believe what I just watched.
It was amazing, man. Those were the days. Of course, nowadays you look at it, and I'm sure if my childhood self could see the cinematics these days, he would probably just cry that he couldn't play these games.
Is this real life? But anyway, it looks like both of our players now have their headsets back on, and there was a complete rush to the players to make sure that they were ready by our entire staff. So really fantastic response times here over in Poland. They're really taking care of these players.
It's actually a fantastic studio, a fantastic crew that everyone working here. Of course, we are going to be diving back into game momentarily, and we were getting to a very tense point. Of course, what we were talking about just before we did kind of break off is we were getting to that point where Sen was rushing up to the mutas, and he'd kind of scouted that Snute didn't really have any aggressive tech.
Yeah, so for now, these Zerglings are going to head on across the map here and have a little bit of a look around themselves. You see a Spine Crawler going down already, and there's going to be quite a few Lings in production, with those Banelings morphing in defensively just to push him away, but he hasn't got full intel by the what's going on with the layer.
Yeah, Snute a little bit in the dark, but he has seen the 2 gases on the back of the natural, so at this point he can assume it is a Mutalisk build most likely, and behind this we do see a Carapace upgrade from Snute. Now that's really cool. That's going to give his Lings a lot more oomph on the field, but it won't kick in for a little while, so Snute's going to be very dependent on Queens. We see him pumping out more Queens, putting down a fast third, and he's going to be very defensive. His whole goal here is spread out a bit of creep, secure the 3rd base, and just be impenetrable to any harassment. Only once he gets 3 bases, powering out drones, powering out economy, that's when the game really starts for Snute. Up until then, he's just going to harass a bit.
Yeah, the Queen defense is something that I love in Zerg vs. Zerg when it comes to the Mutalisks, because even then, later on, you can sometimes potentially follow that up with Nida Swarms and try and push across the map, even, well, if you want to spread out creep really fast, which is something that Snute does in this matchup as well. So he does have options available to him after knowing what he knows.
Oh, nice micro from Sen, getting 2 of Snute's Banelings. Looks like Sen wants to put the aggression pretty hard. He's building a lot of Zerglings.
That's a lot of Banelings moving forwards here for Snute, though, and so his defensive posture is very, very good. Will be able to push Sen away, but that's not the full story. The full story is behind that Spire that's just about to finish up. He does have some Mutalisks on the way, just 5 at the moment.
Sen's actually on a very high drone count compared to Snute, and he doesn't really have that many Zerglings out. Snute, on the other hand, he's pumping Zerglings. He's really committing. He's not playing nearly as defensive as we thought. He really wants to cancel Sen's 3rd base right here.
Yeah, I'm sending those Banelings forwards there to try and zone out the Zerglings, whilst the other Zerglings are working on towards this Spine Crawler. The transfuse, no, there is none available here from these Queens. So doing what he can, and now he sees the Mutalisk just keeping them back.
Oh, that's a great hold from Sen there. The Spine, the Queen's doing really well, absorbing all of that, and now Sen has Mutas out. He's got complete map control. His 3rd, he's going to be able to start saturating that. And look at this, Snute still only on 39 drones. I mean, he's got a lot of Queens, but he doesn't even have Spore Crawlers down yet. These Mutas are going to have absolute range.
Noticeably, he's still not on a layer, right, Snute? He's only on hatchery tech, so he's not even too worried about this by the looks of things. If he wanted to try and catch up, he would have done that quite a long time ago, but he's just committed to all this Queen defense to try and hold off against this.
This is really tricky. He's going very minimal on spores, but these Zerglings need to buy time. His Queens aren't mobile enough to keep up with this, so it's these Zerglings' job to keep the Mutalisks back. They need to buy time, and oh no, 2 Banelings from Sen!
Oh, very close. Very, very close indeed. Going to try and wiggle on around here, get towards the 3rd base, split some of these up, well, most importantly, because if he does split up the Zerglings, it means that he could keep these Mutalisks dancing.
Oh, nice split off from Snute. Does take out 2 of the Banelings, a couple of the drones, and this is keeping Sen back very effectively. Behind this, Snute's equalized that work account. He's adding on those range upgrades. Interestingly, adding on even more Zerglings here. Looks like he really wants to keep the pressure onto Sen.
Ro16's on the way here as against the 1-1 melee upgrades currently going down for Sen, and the range obviously on the way here for Snute. So not only will that benefit his roaches once they flood out, but it's benefiting the Queens as well as this game goes on, and that makes it a little bit harder for these Mutalisks to really do anything at the moment.
Yeah, with lots of 10 Queens out and 11th on the way, Snute is going to have a potential Queen aggressive push timing, and the push distance is not that far on this map. Look how much creep spread he's got all over, and these Mutas haven't really found a single window to get in and kill any drones yet. Snute has actually been so greedy with his anti-air.
Is it not important? Well, these Lings are going to try and run past again here, but is it not important for these Mutalisks to shut down this creep spread? I mean, right now, there's 1 there at least, so at least he's killing off some creep screamers, but that's a lot of Queens to push.
He really does need to, because Sen's game here is not about attacking anytime soon. He is getting an infestation pit, getting those melee and carapace upgrades. He is planning to go up towards Hive and head towards those tier 3 units, the Broodlords, the Ultralisks, the late game. That is where Sen's plan lies. And Snute, he hasn't realized this yet. So Snute right now is just saying, let's build infestors, let's build roaches, I'll be ready for your roach follow-up and I'll have a bit better upgrades. He has no idea right now that there is going to be a huge defense of just Lings and Mutas all to buy time, and eventually that's when the tech army hits. And you cannot fight Broodlords, you cannot fight Ultralisks with Roach Infestor. You will get destroyed if you let it get there.
It's going to be difficult. A few more Mutalisks are going to be added here for Sen. And on a map like this, as long as you've been able to limit the creep spread, then technically bouncing between some of these bases with Mutalisks alone is quite strong. It's very difficult to run between these bases with your anti-air of just Queens alone. They're very bulky units and they do take a while to move around these bases.
And this is just doing such a good job of keeping Snute back. Keep in mind, Snute still doesn't have that vision. He just sent a Zergling into the third, and he did spot quite a few Zerglings from Sen. He still hasn't seen any Roaches, so Snute might be starting to wonder, what are you up to? What is going on? Because once he realizes this is happening, he needs to push. He needs to get across there. He needs to push with his Queens, with Hydras, and he only has about another minute and a half to make that push happen before Ultras or Broodlords are going to be out.
Sees himself that high. Very, very important scout there as Snute now gets what is going on. He understands what's happening behind all of that, because, I mean, if you look at the mini-map, he's had very little vision for the whole time. It's been difficult for him because of the Mutalisks having been out for so long.
And he's going to have to, realizing that, he's going to have to push soon. We see Hydras on the production tab. Interestingly, Snute starts a hive of his own. Now, this is fascinating. The standard response is kill the guy before he gets the hive tech. But Snute, being the crazy defensive, confident player that he is, looks like he's actually going to go for a hive of his own.
He finds quite the pocket of Zerglings on this left-hand side. These Roaches got more than they bargained for, as they're going to have to be fought off against. And well, the other Roaches are going to come around, but at least these Lings have been able to trickle on through here and get towards that third base. Actually, it's more than a trickle, it's a flood at the moment. Trying to kill off kills.
Couple of Hydralisks there, which is a nice pickup. Muta's coming into the main. Oh, Sen not watching them, loses 4 Mutalisks to those 2 Spore Crawlers in the blink of an eye. Oh, you know, this has done a good job of keeping Snute back, but there was a lot of Zerglings he lost, a couple of Mutas, but the Ultra Cavern is about to finish. Sen's about to get to that happy point where he wants 2-2 Ultras on the field. This is going to be great.
I love watching Spore Crawlers against Mutalisks. It's like, before the change ever happened a long, long time ago now, they were like tickling away at them. Now it's like a nuclear bomb hit them. It's very, very difficult for them to do anything against Spore Crawlers.
It's like the StarCraft video, man. It's just that giant green radiation beam of death.
Well, this is quite the strong force that Snute has on the ground, of course, here, but he's going to be going up against 8 Ultras very soon here, with Kindness placing on the way and 2-2 just about to finish, so those 8 Ultras are pretty darn powerful.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what Snute's plan is here. He's dropped a Spire and +3 range, but if you want to go Broodlords against this, that's viable, but why not start the Spire earlier? I don't understand what his plan is.
Is his plan to throw down a load of Infested Terrans and use them as a barrier against the Ultralisks, maybe?
He could, but he's not maxing out. This push is really weird from Snute. It's so dangerous. There's going to be Ultras, Lings, and Mutas coming from every side, and Snute's army is small. This is not a big army.
Look at the positioning already of those Infested Terrans. Just throwing down a few at a time here to try and bottle up those Ultralisks before he even does anything. Lings coming around from the backside, though. They get onto one of those Infestors. Good stuff. It actually forces out a fungal growth on from them, and the Mutalisks are able to do so much in this straight-up fight with the Ultras being able to support them.
Oh my god. I mean, Sen cleans that up, and he does it well, but I thought that was going to be a landslide victory. Snute's Infested Terran force fields were actually fantastic there. But he is still so far behind. As I was saying, he didn't have the Queens with that attack. That's like 10 Queens not in your army, and you're not 20 supply away from max. When that should be a max push, he had the money. So this was a really crazy push from Snute. And now, with masses of Ultras, Zerglings, and the Mutas still alive, all on 2-2 upgrades, his army is just going to be less cost efficient. He's going to have to try to hang on somehow, but I don't know what he can do here.
+3 weapons on the way here for Snute at the moment. Economy is looking relatively even, but Adrenal Glands on the way. Ultralisk extra being added on, and this army moving forward. Transfuses are important at the moment here, keeping those Queens alive at the front, tanking up some damage. Snute will push it away.
Snute here, looking like he wants to stay on Roach Hydra. He feels like he can make it happen with this composition, and interestingly, going to try and get aggressive again. He seems to have just such confidence that with the right focus fire, the right control and positioning, he can take on this Ultralisk army head-to-head. And interestingly, Sen's still a little while away from being max. Sen's been trying to drone up this 4th base, and maybe there's a window here for Snute to make something happen.
Needs to bottle it up. Needs to make sure that he can actually just slow down the Ultras from advancing on. Right now he's trying to separate his ranged army up a little bit at a time backwards here, but against that many Ultras and Mutalisks, it's not enough.
Those aren't Stim Marauders and Marines. They don't micro that well like that. I mean, he made them more effective, but Snute here is looking a little bit desperate. Once again, not having the Queens with his army. That's a lot of supply there, and Sen just has so much stuff right now. I think Snute's realizing how hard his situation is, and he feels like the longer it goes, the further he'll get behind, and it looks like Sen, realizing he's got the army superiority, is just going to crash through here.
Time for the Transfuses to try and pay you up, but I don't think it's even going to help out. They're trying to launch down as quickly as possible. Roach is up towards the top here, killing off some of the Ultralisks, but not quite enough. +3 weapons is just about to finish up, but in the nick of time, before, just before all these Ultralisks have been able to crash through it and deny any of the units from doing any damage anyway.
Oh, Sen's gotten away with his build, rushing up to this high tech, and he is just destroying Snute straight up in these fights. Snute's army cannot compete with these Ultralisks just barraging their way through. Just a very powerful play from Sen.
Really just let Sen breathe too much during the entirety of this game. The Ultralisks and Mutalisks going to clean up quite a bit. Hydras try and come for the reinforcement, but that's still so many Ultralisks available to Sen.
Oh, look at this huge ball of Sen's. Banelings, just going to add it in there. Sen getting a bit of flair with his army. Of course, they're going to be amazing against the Hydralisks as well, just adding that oomph behind those Ultras. And Snute's going to go for one big concave, see if he can hang on with a bit of positioning. But when you have about as many Roaches as they have Banelings and Ultralisks, you are in a pretty bad position.
Yep, Baneling's just going to walk on around to the side. There you go, GG. Game number 2 goes to Snute. He ties up the series. He will keep himself alive here in this first match between him and Snute.
Really nice play there from Sen. Just played the early game very well. Snute banked a lot on trying to get that third down of Sen's, trying to do something with that Zergling aggression, and he wasn't quite able to make it happen there. He pushed in hard, but Sen just hung on, he kept defending, and it was just really great defense from Sen. Once he has the mutas out, that's Sen's happy zone. He's so good at just controlling space and pushing them back.
Well, that means now we are 1 apiece here in our best of 3. We're going to go to a short break, and when we are back, it will be Snute versus Sen and the World Championship Series. Welcome back to the World Championship Series here at round of 16 as we now enter into the third game here between Sen and Snute. And Sen being able to really, let's put it bluntly, play his game there in that second match.
Yeah, I mean, Snute went for a little bit of a different style. We thought he was going to sit back and defend more with his queens. We saw him really absorb some attacks, but he kind of went aggressive, and Sen was like, hey, I've played this 1,000 times. Great Baneling defense, great Zergling defense, and from there, he just teched his way up, bought so much time with his Mutalisk and Zergling harass, and once he had those Ultras out, he was home, sweet home.
Yes, he was. And now we're going to go to Cactus Valley here for Zerg versus Zerg. And we've actually seen in cross positions this map actually work out in a very, very favorable way for a similar style to how Sen's played before. But can you talk to us a bit more about the map here?
Well, Cactus Valley is a bit interesting because it's such a large map and there is a lot of diversity. When you think of cross map, it's so far away as opposed to if you get the vertical or horizontal spawns. So there is that factor which comes into it, but you've also got the fact that the entrance to the natural, very tight, very narrow. So you do see sometimes players love to do a defensive play. They figure, I can wall this off so easily. I can really play a defensive play, something which, of course, Snute loves to do. It's also a 4-player map. Whenever you're playing a 4-player map, scouting becomes a bit variable.
Yes, it does, of course. I mean, even just the first overlords, where they go, is something that can be, a little bit kind of up in the air. You really going to be able to spot your opponent first. Are they opening up something really crazy to try and kind of counteract that position? It's it can be a little bit scary in this matchup.
And once you add that variability into scouting, you see a lot of players love to play more high risk, high reward, right? They figure if you're not going to have the information, I have a much higher chance of this sort of high risk, high reward play going unpunished, you know, getting the payoff. So we do see players going to either end of the spectrum, either the fast attack, I'm going to go for an all-in rush, I'm going to try and kill you, or the opposite, they say, I'm going to cut a corner here or there. And I mean, from watching a few VODs of Sen's play, researching him before, I've seen a lot of games where he loves to just, at the point where any other player would build a Baneling Nest, he's like, nope, don't need one of those. And, you know, he loves to cut these little corners, get a few more drones out, squeeze a few more, and it puts him in such a strong position just a little bit further down the line. Now, Snute might be aware of that, so he might be wanting to put on some pressure himself. But either way, this is now game 3. It's 1-1, and this is where it gets to that tense moment, and both players are a little bit afraid to throw the game away.
That's certainly true. Right, we're loading up into game number 3 now here between Snute and Sen. Obviously, Snute wants to be able to win this one, move on to the winner's match, wants to find himself a first place to keep his strong chance alive to try and push him forward, of course, into the global finals later on if he's able to bank up enough points. Currently sat at rank 31 with 1,700. Would need a big extra bank there to be able to push him through. A lot of hope goes behind him. But for now, up to the top right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg representing Hong Kong Attitude. It is Sen. And then down to the bottom right-hand corner, our red Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is Snute.
Such a tense match here. Both players going into Cactus Valley. We did see Snute in the vetoes, taking out Iron Fortress, showing he doesn't really want to play these big 4-player maps as much, but he did use his other veto on Bridgehead, which I guess is a map which is also very strange in some way. So, in some ways, I should say. So it looks like, you know, going into this, both players, neither of them is going to risk it on one of those crazy all-in fast rushes. We haven't seen an early pool yet, but you've just got to feel the sort of tenseness in both of these players. With every decision they make, so much weighs on it at this point. Yeah. And it really does get to that point where both players are trying to juggle that line of let's not get too over-eager, but at the same time, let's not be too afraid. Let's try and be confident here and go with what we know, go with the strategies that we're strong with.
And already both of them opening up with a usual go-to response on this map. It's like, well, I'm imagining they're probably not going to try for something super aggressive. Going for hatchery first, putting themselves in a strong, stable, economical position at the very beginning of here. But of course, you know, we have seen aggressive moves from here, because sometimes going for your natural means that you just have access to more lava.
Absolutely, and fascinatingly, Snute's actually dropped a very fast gas. Really fast, down at that 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So, I mean, not to get overly technical, basically that's an incredibly fast gas before pool after your hatchery. He can do a lot of aggression off this. A really fast Ling Bane all-in, a big Speedling rush. He has a lot of options open to him. Sen's opened much more conservatively with his gas after his spawning pool. So it looks like Snute may want to be the aggressor here. This does cut a little bit of his economy, but I think we're going to see him go for a big attack to try and get in Sen's face.
This Overlord's about to find out exactly where his opponent is, and that is going to give Snute a small heads up, at least where to be able to send his units once all this goes down. Does see that hatchery down. It also gives him great comfort as well. He hasn't really seen much up until he sees that hatchery, which means that now he knows that, oh, okay, that was the same timing as mine. Oh, okay, I know you weren't going for some crazy, like, earlier pool, for example.
Oh, and this is so great for Snute. It just gives him all of the options in terms of knowing he's got the information now to know the risks involved. Sen, on the other hand, just is going to feel so in the dark. He's going to know he's been scouted, you know, quite early, but he's just not sure what could be coming his way. And this is just really hard for Sen. Meanwhile, we see that, oh my god, that is a fast Baneling Nest. That is so fast. That's actually, I'm wondering if that's just for safety, because that's actually almost too early to be for an attack.
It's in the back, it's hidden away at the moment. Very difficult for his opponent to actually spot that. The 2 Lings going down here are all important, but likewise sending 2 Lings up towards the top as well. 4 extra Lings on the way here. The Queens have been sent out to try and deny this. He really wants to deny this from being spotted, but I think that Ling is going to be able to get around to the back here, and Sen picks up a very important read.
And that's got to throw a jolt through Sen right now, because he does not have a Baneling Nest at home. And these Zerglings Snute's building, they're actually really selling the story. we immediately see the Baneling Nest go down for Sen because he realizes the potential for a big attack to come his way, dropping a Spine Crawler as well. He is worried right now, but guess what? Snute is not committing that much. He's only building 14 Zerglings, making 2 of them into Banelings. He's going to hit a pressure here, but he's not even committing that much that fast, and he's still going to hit well before that Spinal Baneling Nest are ready.
I'm trying to find any damage he can do, but even if he doesn't, it's drones, 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 although has 2 more Zerglings in production at the moment.
Oh, the Queen getting trapped outside. Snute, the Baneling takes out 4 or 5 Zerglings there. The Spine still doesn't finish, and Snute's going to go in for some big damage. He is realizing that the gates are open, and he's just going to flood in.
Yeah, and that Baneling alone is just zoning out those Lings up at the top, and he keeps actually almost dividing and conquering. When they're popping out of the natural, he's killing them off, and when they were coming down from the main, he's killing them off. 2 more Banelings morphing in, just wants to protect those. He knows Zerglings are about to pop out very soon.
Oh, the 2 Banelings about to finish, and Sen is in such a hard spot. He just can't even get the Zergling numbers up to fight this. He's brought the Queen down from the main. That's going to add a bit of focus firepower. Does manage to focus down both Banelings. Looks like Snute's attack is finally being wrapped up, but Snute has been building quite a number of drones behind this. Yeah. He's also adding Zerglings and, even morphing a few more Banelings for some potential offense.
Yeah, those are actually very cheeky little Banelings in quite an obscure location, maybe to try and even catch Zerglings if they were reinforcing and rallying across the map, but using this and just sending them straight there, he's anticipating those others. He can see where they're moving with his overlords. He knows that this is not being as prudently watched.
Oh, this is great for Snute. The big follow attack coming in, but good micro from Sen so far. Not letting those Banelings getting the hits they want.
More on the way. Snute's looking to keep the fight on his opponent's side of the map at the moment, all importantly.
Just pressuring here. He is building a lot more Zerglings and Banelings while taking a fast third and droning just a little bit by little bit. But Snute looks like he just wants to keep the Ling Bane fights going. Same as that last game. An uncharacteristic commitment to this Ling Bane. He really wants to stay here. He wants to keep Sen pressured. He doesn't want to let him get up to those mutas without him being obstructed. He wants to get in his face and slow him down.
While he takes the 3rd base, I mean, these little trades that he's doing, is he basically forcing Sen to keep spending gas and then slowing down his potential later techs whilst he's taking a slight economy lead? Is that how it is?
That is actually something which you have to take into account. That can be really huge for slowing down mutas. We can see the lair's only halfway done for Sen. Snute gets in, scouts that lair, realizes what's happening, and looks like Snute wants to go with another pressure. He's got so much Ling Bane, yet only 38 drones. He's adding more now with a Roach Warren, but I mean, this is really odd. Snute is playing very low economy, and once again, he needs to get a bit more damage done with this Ling Bane. He can't just keep trading a little bit poorly like he has been.
It's a very heavy middle-of-the-road emphasis at the moment here, as he's trying to wiggle on around here once again, Baneling for Baneling.
Oh, if he can get that 3rd, that's going to be fantastic.
That would be good.
Oh, these Banelings coming in, though, from Sen. Good micro on them. Oh, Snute splitting, but he loses a lot of his firepower there. He's only got 5 Zerglings trying desperately to focus that hatchery down. If he can get it down, this is a huge pickup. This slows down a Mutalisk build so much.
More Lings on the way. They're trying to get on top of that Baneling, and they will force the cancellation of it. This Baneling's going to zone out the Lings here, so he can try and get himself back onto this hatchery. Still more Lings filter through onto this location, but the thing is that while all this is going on, Sen does have his Spire on the way.
Yeah, if Sen can hold on to this, this is great, but the cancel is just barely forced by Snute. He gets the pickup that he couldn't get in that previous game, and that is huge. Now he can freely drone his 3rd base behind this Ling Bane aggression, and he can actually establish a bit of an advantage.
I'm just going to have to continue on with that. More Banelings on the way. Continues to make this pressure hit as much as possible. And, I mean, whilst all this is going on, there's still quite a bit of gas banked up for Sen, and he's doing okay against this.
Snute feeling like things are just going well with the Ling Bane aggression. He's not letting up. He's just going and going and going. This is not the Snute we are used to seeing.
The Bane train never ends. It just keeps going. It just, as I saw 2 morphing in, and as they did, the 3 or 4 of them came from the back as well. Lings continuing on, getting onto these Banelings. 2 Mutalisks in production. Sen at the moment is a little bit wary as to how much he wants to go for it, but the 3rd base is going to be denied again here.
Oh, so many more Lings coming in for Snute. That's huge. If that third base goes down again, and Sen is being choked down slowly. More and more queens are getting up at home for Snute, so he is being better and better prepared for this Mutalisk follow-up, but the Zergling's getting in there.
Yeah, sees it, and Carapace has just finished as well, which is really going to help on out, and the fact that he's been able to win the war on the ground means that these Mutalisks are going to have to stick around for ages down here, trying to help on out the cleanup, but he's already on drones, he's killing them off, and he is preparing back at home with queens in production, as well as his +1 weapons on the way.
Oh, so many drones are going down. Snute is massacring Sen's mineral line. Sen was so desperate to get out the Mutas, but Mutas cannot stop this number of Zerglings and Banelings. You need defensive Banelings of your own. And Snute has found the weak point, powering so many Lings off his 3 hatchery lava. This is such a powerful attack from him.
What an overwhelming style. Not something that we usually see come out, but Snute just never let up, never relented. Now he's 44 workers against 23. This is the choice that he made to try and overpower Sen in an important game to move him on to the winner's match. And what a style. GG. Game 3 goes to Snute, and he propels himself on to that winner's match here in
This is
Group B.
amazing. I couldn't have...
An absolutely fantastic performance by Snute, and he goes through 2 games to 1, but Sen put up a battle, Roddy.
What was amazing?
I know you couldn't contain yourself.
No, what I want to say before I realized that we were on air immediately is that it's amazing because I couldn't have been more wrong about everything I said in the start of this series. Like, Snute is going to be really defensive, guys. Sen is going to be aggressive, whether it's 1 or 2 bases. Opens up with a 10 pool in game number 2 as well. Snute is overly aggressive. Sen played very good, by the way, in map number 2. Way better than I actually expected him to play this series, and deserved the victory on Dash and Terminal. And even in game number 3, again, Snute is so aggressive. This is the last time ever I make a big statement about ZvZ. I'm going to go back to, guys, it's really up in the air. Like, could be some aggression, could
It's like
be
the
defense.
first caster lesson. Remember it was back just pure Roach versus Roach, and the guy was like, I think Red's pulling ahead. It was like the second they said that every time, it was like, all right, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
ZvZ can be like that sometimes. But Jeff, you said that, you know, over the years or the decade that he's been playing, his Sen can sometimes come into a tournament, no one expects him to do anything, he can put up a fight.
He really can, and I think, again, this is a great series where Snute's going to come away from that and be like, oh gosh, I kind of survived something there. And the other guys have something to deal with. Being honest, talking a little bit behind the scenes, one of the refs was kind of like, you know, is Sen okay? He's just sleeping and napping the whole time and playing other games. It's like, yeah, man. The guy's played so much StarCraft. He just he soars into a tournament. He's done all the practice, done all the work. He is going to be a bear for the other guys to deal with.
Snute versus Patreus, Roddy, in the winner's match coming up next.
Yeah, it's going to be a very cool series, and I would still kind of lean towards Snute, I guess, but Patreus looked phenomenal in his ZvP, but then again, it's a completely different skill set that's required. Yeah, ZvZ is more about mind games and reading your opponent, while the ZvP that he showed us was excellent, but I felt it was mostly coming down to army control and execution, and ZvZ is a little bit less about that and more about, I guess, when to hit at the right time and actually making plays happen rather than just defending.
I would still just be nervous. I think Patreus, maybe it's because in all of our mind's eyes we expect him to play a lot worse than he ends up doing, but he always looks impressive. He looked really crisp, really clean, really impressive. And then in kind of the reverse, with Snute, we have like, you know, our bifocals and our top hat on. We're like, oh, Snute lost, you know, 3 Zerglings he typically does not. Well, what a terrible day. And we're, you know, that we want to come away from that and be like, Snute's playing not as good. That being said, I still do think Snute is the guy to beat in this group. It always is and always was. Well, that's not even a sentence, but we'll just roll with it. So Patreus is going to be the underdog. But he's been the underdog this entire time, and yet here he is. He wants to go to Krakow.
Looking forward to this.
What if he actually never went to school and it was just a way to keep some pressure off his shoulders, you know? Actually, he signed up for college in
next
like
level
2018.
mind games.
He's playing more than ever, man. You know that barcode on the Korean server?
Yes.
It's Patreus.
They think I'm in school.
My plan is working. Patreus, we're on to you. Make sure to, if you think you're onto him as well, hashtag WCS and tweet us and let us know all about how much fun you've been having today here in the Premier League. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, Snute takes on Patreus.